Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap. I hope you're doing good and preparing well for your exams. I welcome you all to the basic concepts of management series. Today we'll be understanding one of the very important topics of general management, that is Henry Fayol's administrative theory. He was the one who first gave importance to the concept of understanding management with respect to higher hierarchy in an organization. So today we'll be understanding the 14 important principles which he gave under this theory, the famous book he wrote, and also a live example or a practical example of the company which currently uses his administrative theory. So let's begin the session. Before starting the session, if you are new at EduTap, I have a very good news for you, that we at EduTap are presenting a comprehensive guidebook for RBI Grade B and SEBI Grade A, which would answer all your common queries in a definitive manner. Let it be about the exam, the hierarchy, the syllabus, the resources which you have to follow, and not just that, the cutoffs which were prevailing, the perks which you would receive once you join the organization. All these kinds of information is given in this guidebook, which is absolutely free of cost. All these common looking queries consume a lot of time and you do not find these information in a single portal. So we are making this very simple for you. So do download the same from the description link given below. If you are new to our YouTube channel, do press the bell icon to receive the latest updates on various regulatory body exams and join the Telegram group to receive the PDFs of the session. So let's begin today's session. So let us understand what is administrative theory. So basically keep in mind that administrative theory is one of the three theories which come under classical theory of management. So who was the one who gave administrative theory? It was given by Henry Fayol. And Henry Fayol is thus known as the father of administrative management, which is also known as modern operational theory. So let us quickly understand a brief history that why did Fayol come up with such kind of theory. So basically, Henry Fayol was a mining engineer in France. So when he was working in an organization around 1960s, when he joined the organization and when eventually he got promoted to the post of MD in 1988, his mining company was, facing heavy financial crisis. It went into bankruptcy. So, Henry Fayol understood a very basic fact, that it is not just about the technical skills which a higher authority should possess, but it is about his or her managerial skills. So he formulated his famous 14 principles, which is known as Henry Fayol's administrative theory and is also known as Fayolism. And we'll be understanding each of them in detail today. And he wrote a very famous book which is known as General and Industrial Management, which gave him a lot of popularity. And as I said you, administrative management theory, it comes under a classical management theory. So what were the other classical management theories which were existing? That is, first one is the Frederick Taylor's scientific management theory, and Max Weber, who gave bureaucratic theory of management. So let's move ahead and understand that according to Henry Fayol, he said that his management theory could be subdivided into three main theories. Now let us understand these three main theories in detail. The first category was quality of manager. So Henry Fayol said that a manager should possess certain quality. And what are those qualities? These are the qualities which a manager should generally possess. The first quality is the physical quality. The first thing actually which should come to your mind when I say physical quality is a person's health or his vigor. So the person should be healthy enough to take up the task of the organization. The next quality was the mental quality. When I say mental quality, Henry Fayol simply meant that the manager should have basic understanding basic understanding of all the activities which are taking place within the organization. The next quality which a manager should possess according to Henry Fayol was moral. When I say moral, I simply mean that the manager should be highly dignified. He should be ethical as well while performing his tasks. Apart from that, the manager should be educational. When I say educational, the manager should have basic background to understand all the activities which are going in the institution. The next quality which the manager should possess was the technical quality. What do I mean by technical quality? I simply mean that the manager should able to understand all the technicalities, let it be with the whole process. Let's say there's a manager who works in a factory. So he has to understand what are the instruments, how do the instruments work. All these parameters come under technicality. And last quality which a manager should possess is experience. What do I mean by experience? I simply mean that the manager should have high experience of managing people. So he should have worked for certain period of time. What would happen if he has worked for certain period of time? He can exhibit high amount of maturity and handle people in a better way. So now let us understand the 14 principles of management, and then lastly we'll cover the 5 functions of management which Henry Fayol gave. Now let us understand these 14 principles which Henry Fayol adopted. Keep in mind, Henry Fayol was the first one who said that, there should be a top-down approach in a management. Okay? So what were the 14 principles which he said a manager or a person in a higher hierarchy should follow? Now, the first principle according to Henry Fayol was division of work. What did Henry Fayol mean by division of work? The simple basic meaning of division of work is that a given task should be divided into units. He said that in an organization, instead of giving a task completely to a single person, the task can be divided into different units, and different people based on their educational background, their potentiality, and their capability to carry out the task should be given such units of tasks. So what would happen if the task is broken into units? Firstly, the productivity of person would increase, and when a person kinds of does a specific task continuously, there will come a point wherein he'll become specialized in that kind of activity. So what did this principle promote? It promoted specialization of task. Okay? Now, moreover, he said that when these tasks are divided, the production is increased, and more people put equal efforts, and eventually the output is quite satisfying in nature. So, if you want to take a practical example of this situation, consider a bank, wherein different sections are divided. Let's say there is a section which looks into the overall administration of the bank. There is a different section which looks into the issuing of checks. Why it has been done so? Because the process becomes simple for the bank as well, and the clients also, do not face any issue, and there's a hassle-free transaction. So this is what division of work is. So let's say if you don't give proper division of work, what would happen? Eventually, if there's one person who's carrying out all the activities, he'll eventually, become less efficient over the period of time. So this is what was the first principle according to Henry Fayol. Now, the second principle which Henry Fayol gave was authority and responsibility. What do you mean by authority in general? See, authority is nothing but the right to give order. What is authority? It is the right to give order. Okay? And in return, the person who is giving the order expects obedience. Or in simple terms, a manager would be expecting the employee to be accountable and carry out the task. And what is responsibility? Responsibility is nothing but the person being responsible to carry out the task. Now please keep in mind that this concept of authority and responsibility go hand in hand. What do I mean to say when authority and responsibility go hand in hand? I simply mean to say that whenever there is authority, parallelly there will be responsibility. Now, authority can further, when I say authority, there can be two types of authority which are possible. You can firstly keep in mind that there is official authority. When I say official authority, I simply mean that the manager has the right to direct or command his subordinates to carry out the task. Secondly, there is personal authority. What is personal authority? Personal authority, you can understand personal authority as in something which comes from within. Okay? Something which comes from within. Let us understand with this an example. But before that, keep in mind that if you provide authority to the person, but you do not give him the apt responsibility, what would happen? The situation would turn into an irresponsible situation. Likewise, let's say a person is responsible enough, but he's not given the prompt authority. What would happen? The production, or you can say the overall output, would reduce. Let us take an example of a factory here. Let's say there is a person or a worker who has been ordered to produce 50 units of chips per day. Now, in this case, the manager has ordered him to, produce 50 units, but let's say now he is not given the equipments. He doesn't know how the equipment works. In that case, he has been denied the personal authority to use the situations or use the equipments, and what happens? The overall production gets harmed. So this is what Henry Fayol said, that whenever there would be responsibility, there would be equal amount of authority. Now let's move to the third principle which was given by Henry Fayol. The third principle which was given by Henry Fayol is very simple. It is discipline. What do I mean when I say that the employees should exhibit discipline in an organization? It simply means that the employees should follow all the rules and regulations, and these rules and regulations, keep in mind, can be followed in two cases. One where these people are strictly directed to follow the rules and regulation, and secondly, there is a chance that these people are highly disciplined. They are disciplined from within because they are eager to carry out this task. So Henry Fayol said that discipline is a very important factor to generate positive amount of output. And how could this be ensured? He said that during every stage of management, or let's say in every situation or hierarchy, there should be constant monitoring, so that people follow all the necessary aspects and give a positive output. So this is what is the third principle of Henry Fayol's management. Now let's go ahead and understand the next principle which he gave. The next principle which he gave was unity of command. So what do I simply mean by unity of command? Henry Fayol simply said that a subordinate or an employee should receive order from only one manager at a time. Okay, he said that if there are three, let's say you take an example, let's say there are three subordinates or three employees. Now these three employees, let's say, should receive the orders from a single manager instead of receiving orders from multiple managers. Why? Let's say if a person receives order from multiple managers, what would happen? There would be a chaotic situation. What would happen? This would lead, if the person, ऐसे समझो कि if the person receives order from multiple managers, this would result in confusion. So, take an example. Let's say there is a sales manager or a sales executive rather. Let's say this person has been asked to sell certain product, and now let's assume that the marketing team says that the maximum discount which you can give to the customer is 10%. this is given by the sales team. ठीक है? And let's say on the other hand, there is the finance department which tells him that the maximum discount which you can offer without hurting our profits is 5%. So this becomes, a dilemmatic situation for this executive. Now, what would he follow? Would he listen to the sales team or would he listen to the finance team? So, in order to avoid such kind of confusion, Henry Fayol said that an executive should receive command from single person at a time. Now, can you tell me how is this different from Taylor's scientific theory? Do let me know how this is different from Taylorism in the comment section. Now, let us understand the next principle which was given by Henry Fayol. The next principle was unity of direction. Now, what does it simply mean? Unity of direction simply means that for any given task, there should be a single boss. ठीक है? Understand this in this way. Let's say there is an organization A, and in this organization there are 3 departments. Let's say B, C and D are the 3 departments which are present in this organization A. Now, according to unity of direction, it simply means that these 3 departments should be individually managed by a lead. ठीक है? Which means there should be a separate lead for each of these departments. Now, this department must have a common goal. So, all the process, planning, everything should be carried out by this leader. When the 2 departments are mixed, let's say goals, or the process which have different goals. ऐसे समझो कि अगर 2 process का there are different goals, तो वैसे केस में a single lead should not look into this aspect, but there should be individual leads who should look into the aspects of the organization. So this is what unity of direction simply means. Now let us understand the next principle. The next principle speaks about subordination of individual interest to general interest. What does this mean? It simply means that a manager has to ensure that the interest of the organization, that is, the interest of the organization should be given more weightage in comparison to the individual interests of the people. So what would a manager do? See, he has to guide people, he has to motivate and somewhere mentor these individuals so that their individual goals align with the interests of the organization as a whole. So that is what Henry Fayol also said, that the individual interest and the general interest are in subordination. Okay? Now let us understand the next principle. The next principle is remuneration to the employees. What do I mean by remuneration to the employees? Whenever I say remuneration, Henry Fayol said that the employee should be given apt amount of payment and this should be satisfactory to him. Which means, let's say there's a person who is, meant to receive 20,000 for certain task. So he should not be paid less, and at the same time this employee should be satisfied with the perks, or let's say the remuneration which he has been receiving or he would be receiving. Why is this important? Let's say if the person is not satisfied, what would happen? He would not put in all the efforts which are required by him to carry out the various tasks or processes given to him. So this is what Henry Fayol said, that employees should be given proper remuneration. What is the next principle? The next principle spoke about centralization and decentralization. What do you mean by centralization in general? The term centralization simply means that the authority is fully controlled by the higher authority people, which means the people in the lower hierarchy are not allowed to participate in the decision making process. Whereas what is decentralization? Decentralization simply means that the organization is quite open. The people in the lower hierarchy are also allowed to participate in the decision making process. Okay? So what did Henry Fayol say? Henry Fayol said that there should be a perfect balance between centralization and the decentralization process. He said that the organization should not work in such a way that it is highly centralized, or on the opposite side, the organization should also not be highly decentralized. He said that there should be a proper balance between both of them. Now let us understand the next principle. The next principle is known as scalar chain. Now, usually according to Henry Fayol, or let's say in general, how does the communication process take place in an organization? Either the information is flowing from top down hierarchy, or let's say the information is flowing this way. Now, what would happen if this employee wants to communicate with a person I, which is of his own hierarchy? So what would he do in general? He will communicate this information to D, from D to C, B, A, and again from here A would pass this information to F, G, H, and then I. Now, in this case, the information is being forwarded to I, but what is happening? The time consumption is extremely high. So, in order to avoid this situation, what did Henry Fayol say? Henry Fayol suggested the concept of gangplank, wherein he said that employees or subordinates in the same hierarchy can communicate with each other. Now you would have noted something here, that the communication line is still dotted and it is not a straight line. What does this mean? Even though these people are communicating with each other, the ultimate authority still remains with person A. So this is what scalar chain process or the principle of scalar chain is. What was the next principle which was given by Henry Fayol? It is about order. See, when I say order, I simply mean the orderness. Okay? Orderness of the organization as a whole. It's simply whenever I say order, there are three things which should come to your mind. The first thing is right thing at right place at right time. So, we can still, further classify rather order as product order and social order. So what did Henry Fayol mean by product and social order? He said that every product, let's say in an organization, let's say there's a factory, again, he said that every product should have distinct, there should be distinctiveness and there should be proper order of this. Which means which product to be used should be very clear for a given task. Likewise, there should be a social order. What do I mean by social order? I simply mean that, every person in an organization, let's say there are 3 people or let's say 30 people working in an organization. So all these 30 people should have, their distinct work, so that, there's no repetition or mistake of tasks. So this is what simply orderness is, providing the right place to, let it be people or the product or equipment being used in the organization. Now let's move to the next principle. The next principle spoke about, the equality or equity. What do I mean by equity or equality? Henry Fayol said that people should not be discriminated. There should be no discrimination on factors like gender, class, religion, anything. Let's say, there are 2 people who are performing the same task. 2 लोग हैं जो same task कर रहे हैं, A and B. They should be provided with same remuneration and recognition, and there should be no discrimination based on their gender or religion. So this is what Henry Fayol's other principle, which is equity principle, was. The next principle is stability of the personnel. What do I mean by stability? See, Henry Fayol simply said that whenever a person is hired, an employee is hired within an organization, he should, be there for a certain period of time. think practically as well. When you join an organization, what is the first thing apart from perks which you personally want? You want job security. Okay? Which means you do not want to be thrown out or fired immediately. So Henry Fayol just simply said that whenever a person is hired, he should stay for a certain period of time, and he should not be thrown out, or he should not be there in an organization for shorter period of time. And how could this be done? He said that the organization should carry out the recruitment process in quite strict manner, so that the organization as a whole can receive people who are highly skilled, and then they can stay in the organization as a whole. Okay? Now, what was the next principle given by Henry Fayol? It is initiative. Henry Fayol said that irrespective of the hierarchy of people or employees in an organization, each and every employee should participate or provide valuable insights. What would happen? This would give them a sense of belongingness. Okay? They'll become more participative, and when they become more participative, what is the result? The output is desired in nature. And what was the last or the 14th principle which was given by Henry Fayol? It is spirit die corps. It simply means unity is strength. Okay, you have to remember the term unity. Henry Fayol said that instead of using the term I, instead of just looking at yourself as the only person, you have to replace I with we. You have to work together as a team. There should not be any internal conflicts within the team members which would anyhow affect the overall production. So these were the 14 principles which are important and were given by Henry Fayol. Now that we have understood the principles, let us understand what were the management functions, the 5 management functions which were given by Henry Fayol. The first function which was given by Henry Fayol was process. This is a very, general function of a management as well. And keep in mind that on this topic, functions of management pay, there have been multiple questions in the examination as well. So what does the meaning of process is? Process is nothing but planning. Okay? You have to identify the complete process, that how you're going to carry out certain tasks, how you would be assigning the work to people, what is the basic motivating factor. That all is decided in this process. And process, or let's say planning, you have to keep in mind is a continuous process. What does this help in? Process helps in bridging the distance between our current situation and our future situation. This is what process is going to do. The next function which Henry Fayol gave was organizing. What did Fayol say? That once the process is decided that how a certain task is to be carried out, he said that proper people should be assigned for doing proper work, the proper equipments, everything should be done in an organized manner. The third function was the commanding function, which means there should be proper commanding. The manager should constantly monitor the subordinates and command them in each and every situation so as to meet the required output. The next function was coordinating. What do you simply mean by coordinating? The first thing, when I say coordinating, you have to remember that coordinating is one of the basic essence of management as a whole. Okay, so coordination is important within the team and the manager. And finally, the fifth function is controlling. What is simply controlling? See, in controlling, what does the manager do? Firstly, the manager decides a standard output. He would decide what should be the output of a given procedure, and then once the task is complete, you receive the actual output. So now what would the manager do? He would simply compare this standard output with the actual output, and in case if there's any difference, then there are corrective actions which are to be taken by the organization or the manager. Why would he or she require to take correct, why would he require, to control? Because, as a whole, there can be cost efficiency, time reduction, everything can be controlled so as to increase the efficiency of the whole process. So this is what completely Henry Fayol's theory of administrative management is. I hope you enjoyed the session. If you have any doubts, do let me know in the comment section, and also reach out to us through our Telegram channel to receive all the PDFs of the session. And if you have any doubts, do call us on the given number. All the best. Thank you.